All right, kids. Well, this is an excellent book about Fibonacci. It's called Blockhead, The Life of Fibonacci by Joseph DeAngelis. Illustrated by John O'Brien. Really good book about the life of Fibonacci. So, we're going to read it together. Yes, good stuff. Kind of like the title page. Got the Fibonacci spiral right there. We talked about that in class. Really cool. Is for my parents, Frank and Angela. All right. You can call me Blockhead. Everyone else does. See, Fibonacci spiral. One day, when I was just a boy, Maestro wrote out a math problem and gave us 10 minutes to solve it. I solved it in 2 seconds. That's the way I am with numbers. I have loved them since I was very little. Everywhere I looked in my parents' home, there was something to count. That day in class, the other students did their math on abacuses and wrote out their answers in Roman numerals. It was time-consuming, but that's how we did our math back then. As I waited for them to finish, I got bored. I counted 12 birds in a tree outside. How many legs did all the birds have? I wondered. How many eyes? How many wings? And if each bird sang for 2 seconds, one bird after the other, how long would it take all of them to sing? These were such beautiful questions that I started daydreaming. Leonardo, cried Maestro, how dare you daydream in my class? But sir, I said, I was thinking. Aha, Maestro cried, there's the trouble. There will be no thinking in this classroom, only working. You're nothing but an absent-minded, lazy dreamer, you blockhead. Oh dear. The other kids laughed. Blockhead, blockhead, they cried. I was so sad that I ran out of school and entered the streets of Pisa. Pisa is the town where he lived. I let the noise of the city swallow me up. What a wonderful city it was. The year was 1178, and Pisa was one of the greatest cities in all of Italy. In the churchyard, workers were building a new bell tower. Something had gone seriously wrong with the builder's math. All around me, I saw and heard the glory of numbers. So many people were using math in their work. My head was swimming. I was so excited that I didn't watch where I was going. Stop dreaming, the lady cried. What are you, a blockhead? Oh, it's not very nice. That night, my father was angry. The whole city is talking, he yelled. Everyone says my son is an idiot. They call you blockhead. I can't have that. Perhaps you are being too hard on the boy, Signor Bonacio, said my father's advisor, Alfredo. Silence, cried father. Leonardo, soon you will leave with me for Africa. That will put an end to these nicknames. I'll make a merchant out of you yet. Yuck, I thought. Who wants to be a merchant? That night, before we sailed, I couldn't sleep. I watched sadly as a shooting star fell into the ocean. In the star's light, I saw an old friend. He waited for me to dry my tears. I think people are happiest when they know what pleases them, said Alfredo. Me, I love cheese. And you, Master Leonardo, what makes you happiest? Numbers, I said without thinking. Then you should learn all you can about them. That way, you will always be happy. I decided to take Alfredo's advice. My father took me to live in a city called Bugia in northern Africa. In my new home, I noticed that the Arab merchants didn't use Roman numerals. They used numerals that had borrowed from the Hindu people of India. Back home, we wrote this. Here, the merchants wrote this, 18. See how much easier it is? I wanted so much to learn these numerals. By day, I did my father's accounts. At night, Alfredo went with me as I learned the strange new numerals. When I got older, my father sometimes sent me on business trips. When I wasn't working, I sought out wise men in every city. In Egypt, I learned how the ancient pharaohs and their subjects had used fractions. I measured my way through Istanbul, Turkey, and Damascus, Syria. In Greece, I learned about geometry from the ancient books of math. In Sicily, I put my division and subtraction skills to good use. In France, I ate fish soup. He's traveling and learning. It's a good thing. One day I began to write a book about Hindu Arabic numerals. I tossed some riddles into it, like this one. There was a man who put 2 baby rabbits in a field. It takes rabbits 1 month to grow up and be ready to have babies. And it takes them 1 more month to give birth to a pair of baby rabbits. Every month, a pair of grown-up rabbits gives birth to a new pair of baby rabbits. How many rabbits will the man have at the end of the year? Alfredo tried to solve it, but he couldn't. Then I showed him how to solve the problem. On the very first day, you'd have 1 pair of baby rabbits. At the end of month 1, you'd have 1 pair of all grown up and ready to have babies. At the end of month 2, 1 grown-up pair, 1 baby pair. At the end of month 3, 2 grown-up pairs, 1 baby pair. At the end of month 4, 3 grown-up pairs, 2 baby pairs. End of month 5, 5 grown-up pairs, 3 baby pairs. Then I noticed that you don't even have to write out the whole problem. If you add any 2 consecutive numbers in the pattern, you get the next number. 1 pair plus 1 pair equals 2 pairs. 1 pair plus 2 pairs equals 3 pairs. 2 pairs plus 3 pairs equals 5 pairs. Here are the first few numbers of the pattern. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144, 233, 377. If you don't watch out, you'll have 233 pair of rabbits in a year, or 377 if you started with a grown-up pair. News of my work reached Frederick II, ruler of the Holy Roman Empire. When I visited his palace, his wise men challenged me with a bunch of really hard math problems, but I solved them in no time. This, Leonardo, is one smart cookie, said Frederick, and everyone laughed. After all, he was the emperor. I felt proud of my accomplishments, but one day, when I was back in Pisa, I heard some people talking in the marketplace. That's the son of Bonaccio, said a man. He's the one who says we should use those numerals from India. What's wrong with the old numerals, asked another. If they were good enough for the Romans, they're good enough for me. What a blockhead. And suddenly, I was sad again. What good is all my work if people don't listen, I thought. People will always remember me as a blockhead. I wonder what my old friend Alfredo would have said. And suddenly, it was as if he was there with me. Don't listen to those fools, Leonardo, roared Alfredo. Aren't these numbers of yours very important? I certainly think so, I said. Someday, Hindu Arabic numerals will be known all over the world. Why, the more I study them, the more amazed I am by them. With that, I pointed to a flower on the beach. How many petals does this flower have? Alfredo counted and answered, 21. And this flower? 13, he replied. So what? But I did not reply quickly. Instead, we walked along the beach all night, counting things. We counted 3-petal flowers, 5-petal flowers, and 8-petal flowers. We counted to 5 on the arms of a starfish and inside an apple. See, Alfredo, I said, in everything that I count, everywhere that I look, I keep finding the same numbers. Do you recognize them? And Alfredo recited them aloud. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55. My goodness, he cried. They are the numbers from your rabbit problem. Exactly, I said. And we're just getting started. Lately, I've been thinking about those numbers in a different way. Watch. In the sand, I drew one tiny square and one more tiny square next to it. Then came a shape 2 squares high and 2 squares wide, then a 3 by 3 square shape, then a 5 by 5 square shape, an 8 by 8 square shape, and a 13 by 13 square shape. I could go on, I said, but it just wouldn't look right unless I connected them like this. And can you guess what I drew inside them? Alfredo sure couldn't. A spiral, I shouted. You can make a spiral with my numbers. How magnificent, said Alfredo. Yes, it is. But I still don't understand why these numbers are so special. Don't you see, Leonardo, said Alfredo? These are the numbers Mother Nature uses to order the universe. She has hidden them in many places, and until now, no one has found her secret. And Alfredo's words filled my heart with joy. All my life, people had called me blockhead because I daydreamed about numbers. But how could that be bad? Mother Nature loved numbers too, and Alfredo was delighted. From the tiniest plant to the prettiest pine cone, from the tallest flower to the wettest wave to the most wondrous far-off galaxy, all these are home to your numbers, Leonardo. I am old now, but the numbers still make me happy. In all my years, I have never told anyone the secret I shared with Alfredo that night, but now I've told you. Look through this book again, and you will find my numbers just as they are in real life. Now you see why I don't mind being called blockhead after all. Leonardo of Pisa, 1170 to 1240. Little is known about the life of the mathematician called Leonardo Fibonacci. This story is based on the few things we do know and a bit of make-believe. His nickname, Bagolio, can be translated as wanderer or traveler. It also may mean idler, dreamer, or lazy person. In other words, a blockhead. Today, Leonardo is considered the greatest Western mathematician of the Middle Ages. A statue of him stands in Pisa, Italy, not far from the famous Leaning Tower. And the Hindu-Arabic numerals that he worked so hard to introduce to the world are the very same ones we use today. For all his work, Leonardo is best known for the number pattern that appeared in his famous rabbit problem, a pattern we call the Fibonacci sequence. Fibonacci means son of Bonacieux. Scientists and mathematicians now know that the sequence is special. It's a blueprint that describes how living things such as flowers grow in an orderly, harmonious way. The numbers even pop up in works of human imagination, buildings, music, art, and poetry. And yet, say historians, Leonardo never realized the importance of the numbers. Or did he? Really good book, important mathematician, good stuff.